Alright, so it's time to continue working here. Let me show you what we're going to work on next. Pull back. We can see our scene. We've gotten a lot of things done here, but let's see what else we have to create. Let me go to my image file here. I'm going to open up an image. Let me show you what we're going to be creating here. Basically what I've done is I've collected a lot actually, reference images of entertainment centers. So we have all these, well, I have all these different reference images here of different types of furniture for an entertainment center to place your TV, your Blu-ray player, all that good stuff. Okay, and the one that I settled down on was this one over here. And I'll show you this big one right here. And there's a guy in the picture and I blurred out his face to protect his identity. So here's the piece of furniture we're going to be creating. It looks pretty complex, has a lot of details to it, so we're going to be creating a lot of these details. And it's pretty big. We have a pretty big living room, so I thought that this was appropriate. And this one's pretty tall. If we look at our living room, we have a really tall living room here. It's about 2 stories tall. So we're going to have lots of room to create this nice piece of furniture here to put our nice big screen HD TV and all that great stuff. Alright, so to get started here, the first thing I want to do is I want to create placeholders. Placeholders are going to help me to figure out the dimensions of this thing and get the overall volume set for the geometry. And once I got the placeholders properly set up at the size that I want to, the correct volume, then I can start to chip away and create the details I need to and start basically blocking this stuff out and then working my way to the little details. So we're going to create placeholders, get the volume, then we're going to start to block out the major parts of the geometry, like these areas where the shelves go, basically this huge hole right here, these different sections for the moldings up here and things. And then we're going to go ahead and start chipping away at the finer details later on. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to start off by creating a placeholder here with a box. And I'll just create a rough box right there. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to isolate selection here. I just want to be able to see the house and the box. So I'll isolate the selection. And the house has some polygons here that I want to go ahead and hide. So I'm going to go ahead and take all these polygons that are right here. Not that wall. I want to grow the selection one time. And I'm going to go up here to the Graphite Modeling Tools, go to Visibility, Hide Selected. Okay, good. So it makes it easier to work. I'm going to take this huge box that I created. I'm going to put it inside the living room. This is how it's going to be. Eventually there's going to be some furniture here to sit on, like a couch, stuff like that, or coffee tables over there as well. And I want the entertainment center to be up against this wall that's right here. Okay. Now, what I went ahead and I did was I got myself some dimensions here, some measurements. Looking at this picture, it's impossible to know the exact measurements of this entire piece of furniture, but using some logic and common sense, I can go ahead and look at this image and I can come up with some pretty good guesstimations of what the different measurements should be. For example, the overall height of this center piece here and so on and so forth. Okay, so let's break this down into what we need to do. Basically, we can break this down into 3 major pieces. We have this center piece here where the TV goes. It's the biggest piece, okay, biggest section of this furniture. Then we have a second piece here, which is a smaller piece. Looks like it's about half the width of this thing here. And it's about a foot shorter as well. Okay. And then we have a third piece, which is this piece over here, which basically looks almost identical to this one, only it goes down shorter. And it has this sort of arc right here, as opposed to being just a straight, flat top piece right there for the shelves. Okay. So it's basically going to be 3 pieces. The big one, the medium one, and the small one. Alright. So we got it broken down into that. Okay, next thing I need to do, I need to figure out what the height of this big one is. I'm going to start off by creating the big one in the middle. I'm not going to worry about the second half over here because in the end, I can create this half here and then symmetrize it to do the other half, so I only have to do half the work. Okay? So basically, I'm going to assume that this dude over here is about 6 feet tall. I'm just going to go ahead and guess that he's about 6 feet tall. He might be couple inches shorter than that, might be a couple inches taller. I don't know. But I'm going to say that he's 6 feet tall. Okay? And with that assumption, I can use that as a sort of estimator for the rest of the measurements of this furniture. For example, the width of this thing from this end to this end over here, I don't know how much that width is, But I'll tell you this, if this guy is 6 feet tall, if he were to lay on his side, his feet would be around here, and his head would just barely reach this area over here. So I'm going to assume that the width of this thing is close to 6 feet. I'm going to say 6 feet, okay? And if he is 6 feet tall, and he's standing right next to this furniture, that would mean that from the floor to about this shelf right here is about 6 feet, okay, roughly, all right? Now, it looks like that's about half of the furniture, which means that there's about another 6 feet up here from this shelf to the top of this molding. See how the furniture has molding up here? Just like the walls and ceilings up here that we did earlier in the tutorial, okay? So I'm going to say that total, this thing is probably about 12 feet tall. So we've already got some rough dimensions here. 12 feet in height, 6 feet for the width. Now the thickness, in other words, the depth of this from the wall to about right here, if I zoom in here, there's really no way of knowing from here to here. But I'm going to go ahead and say that it looks like it's about 2 feet, maybe 2.5 feet. So let me go ahead and move this out to the side here. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's take the length here. And for the length, I'm going to place about, let me see, and move this over here to the side. The length here is basically controlling the depth, so let's go for about 2.5 feet, 2 feet 6 inches. And we'll move this up against the wall like this, okay? And I'm also going to go ahead and for the height, we said 12 feet, and for the width, we said about 6 feet. Okay, so that's what we've got. That's what it looks like. Let me bring in my image over here. Okay, so if I move this to the side and I look at my image, and this looks like it's placed pretty well, you can see that in 3D and in the image, the things look almost identical. The width looks like it's close enough. The height looks like it's close enough. So I'd say that we got some pretty good starting dimensions here for our placeholder. Okay. I'm also going to go to views, and I'm going to save the active perspective view because this view is very good for doing comparisons between the image and my 3D scene here. So if I pull out, I can always go back to views. I can go to restore active perspective view, and I'll go back to that view that I saved just a few moments ago. Okay, so with that said, let me move that out of the way. My placeholder is ready to go. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clone the placeholder. Hold down Shift and move it to the side to make a clone. So I have the original here just in case if I need it for any reason. I'm going to go back to this guy over here. All right. And I'm going to convert this guy to an editable poly. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to start to cut in some geometry. Let me go back to views and restore my active perspective view. I'm going to bring in my image here. Okay, so basically here's what I'm going to do. I want to make some cuts here on this placeholder object that are going to mimic some important subdivisions on the real object. What do I mean by that? Well, if we look at this big piece, we can break it up into basically 3 or 4 main objects. For example, the bottom here that has these panels right here, we can say that where the TV sits on, this bottom section can be the lower piece, okay? And then this hole here can be sort of like the midsection piece. Then we have a third piece up here, which is this section right here. See where this little detailed object is? And then the fourth piece is on top. That's the actual molding that goes along the top of this furniture and gives it that extra detail, okay? So what I'm going to do is go back to the placeholder object. I'm going to go to Edge Mode, select this edge, go to the Graphite Modeling Tools. I'm going to select a ring, and I'm going to go to Connect, and I'm going to connect this one time, hit OK. All right. Now I know that the top edge right here, if I open up the Transform Typing tool, is 12 feet. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to take this loop of edges that I created when I used the Connect tool. Okay. And I want to place it to about the bottom of the molding right there. So basically I want to get the molding dimensions right there. There's no way of knowing the molding dimensions right there, so I'm just going to start to guess some numbers here. I know at the top is 12 feet, so let's go with about 11.5 feet. So it's basically 6 inches right now. It looks a little bit thin and narrow to me, doesn't look good, so let's add a couple of inches to that. So let's move this down to about 11 feet 4 inches. So now it's 8 inches, and that looks pretty good. I kind of like that. It looks a little bit wider now. It looks more like the image. So I'm going to say I'm happy with that. I'm going to go ahead and select the ring of edges here again. I'm going to make another connection. Okay. And I want to place this connection at the bottom of this section right here. All right. So I'm going to come up here, open up the Transform Typing tool, and try to use a clean number. So it looks like 10 feet looks pretty good. I'm going to go with 10 feet. That looks pretty good. As you can see, that area right there looks very similar to that area right there, at least in volume. Alright, so let me select that edge. I'm going to select the ring. I'm going to connect it again. And this time what I want to do is I want to come in here and I want to place this at the bottom about right here where that's going to go, okay? Now, if I look at this guy, saying he's 6 feet tall, well, this area here reaches about the middle of his body. So if he's 6 feet tall, the middle of his body should be about 3 feet, right? Just about, it looks like it. So I'm going to say this is about 3 feet up. So I'm going to go to 3 feet, but it looks like it's a little bit low. At least to me, it looks like it's a little bit low. So I'm going to go with about 3.5 feet. Again, we don't have to go exactly by the reference image. It's there to give us a guide to help us out. But we don't have to go exactly by it. And we can't even if we want to because we don't have exact measurements of the reference image. Okay, so 3.5 feet looks pretty good. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to create the geometry for these little column pieces. Let me close that real quick. If I zoom in here to the image, you can see we have this sort of column piece that's at the end of both sides here. See that? It goes along the ends right there. And it also goes down all the way to the floor right there. See that? How it looks like a single piece of geometry? What we're going to do is we're going to create that. So I'll go here in 3ds Max, and I'm going to select the bottom edge here, this edge, and I'll probably even go ahead and select that edge that's right there. I'm going to use the connect tool. I'm going to go to the options, and I'm going to give it 2 segments. And I'm going to use the pinch parameter here to go ahead and create those pieces right there. So I'll go to about 75. Roughly looks pretty good. So I'll hit OK. So I have that geometry set up. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and pop in the hole right here. I know that I need a hole right there, basically where the TV is going to go in those shelves. So I'm just going to extrude that in, and I'm going to move it in the y-axis until it almost goes through the wall. I'm going to pull it back so we have that back section back there. See that? Okay. Next thing I'm going to do, well, there's a lot of things we can do here, so let me see what I want to approach next. Probably what I'm going to do is let's go ahead and create this piece here. If I come up here, you notice that there's something pretty unique here. This piece actually goes into the geometry. See that right there? Let's go ahead and create that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back into Max here. And what I want to do is I'm going to take maybe these 2 polygons right here, and I'll probably end up deleting those. So let's go ahead and delete that. I'm going to go to edge mode. I'm going to select that edge right there, and I'm going to select its ring, so it selects all those edges all the way around. I'll use the connect tool, connect it just one time, and I'll move that segment of edges that I just created, and I'll move it to about right here, so I have a little piece of little strip of geometry right there. In edge mode, I'm going to select this edge right here, and I'm going to hold down shift so I can extrude it out, and then I'm going to use the target weld tool to weld that to the end right there and fill in that gap right there. Okay. Now I'm going to take this edge here and I'm going to extrude that up. I'm going to pull up the transform type in tool, and I'm going to take the Z transform of that edge up there, and I can see that's 11 feet 4 inches. I'll copy that value and I'll paste it for this guy here, so they're the same height. And being the same height, it's going to be easy to just extrude that edge right there and use target weld to seal that up there. Then I can use the border selection tool, select that border right there, select this border right there, and then cap those. And I create myself that nice little piece of geometry that I wanted right there, sort of an indentation up there, which looks pretty good. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I have this loop of edges back here that I don't really need, so I'm going to select the loop right there. I'm going to hit Control and Backspace to get rid of that loop. Alright, let me go back to the image here. If I scroll down, you can see we have these little grooves right there. See that? We have 1 groove, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these grooves that go into the wood. And the grooves end right here. Okay? And if we go up, they end about right here. Alright? So let me move this out of the way here. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to select this edge here and that edge. I'm going to select that edge as well and that edge. And I'm going to make a connection here. Hit OK. And I'm going to move this down to about here. Looks pretty good. Okay, right there. That's where the grooves are going to end. I'm going to create another connection just like the other one. The same edges. I'm going to move this one up to about right here. Okay. Now I'm going to take these edges that are right here, and maybe I'll take these edges as well, and I'm going to connect. I'm going to make certain connections here to make the grooves. Now, looking at the image, if I zoom in closely, I can see that I can actually count the grooves. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There's 5 grooves. So to create those 5 grooves, I'm going to create 10 segments. Okay? And I'm going to take the pinch parameter, put that at 0. Make sure pinch and slide is set at 0, and I'll hit OK. Now if I go to polygon mode, I can select this polygon here on the inside, and then select the next one, skip, 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 and skip. And I have myself 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. If I go to the other side, I can do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. See that? And that's by doing 10 segments there. And now what I'm going to do is just extrude. So I'll extrude this with the options. I don't want to extrude it so far in. You can see it pulled it in about a foot. I'm just going to pull it in just about an inch or two. Something like that. Looks pretty good. I'll hit OK. And now we've got those details modeled in, as you can see. Alright, so we're getting there. So we're just starting to chip away at this and get this done. Then I'm going to come over here. I'm going to select that polygon right there. Now I'm going to go ahead and extrude this one up. About an inch, I think, is going to be good, or maybe 2 inches. Yeah, we'll go with 2 inches there, and I'll hit OK. Alright? I'm going to select this edge right there, and I'm going to chamfer that. About an inch with one segment will look good, and I'll hit OK. And the reason I'm doing that is because if I look at my image, the TV is sitting on a piece of geometry that looks like that. See that? That's a couple inches thick. Okay? Now I do have some inside polygons I need to get rid of, so I'll select the top polygon here, grow to selection once, then I'll deselect this polygon and the top one. See how I have through see-through mode, I can see that there's some polygons on the inside selected, so I'll delete those, don't need them. It's just inside geometry that's pretty much worthless. So we'll get rid of that, so we got that little detail right there. Okay, so we're getting there, we're getting there. Let me see what other details I'm going to create here real quick before I end this video. I'm not going to worry about the moldings yet. I'll get to that pretty soon. Down here we need this little piece here. As you can see, we have this piece of geometry here that kind of sticks out, that separates the top from the bottom right there. So let's go ahead and see if we can create that. I'm going to go to edge mode and select this edge and select its ring so it goes all the way around. I'm going to connect that, oops, I'm going to connect that one time, not 10 times. Hit OK. I'm going to move it up until visually it looks like it looks good. And that looks pretty good to me. Maybe I'll move it down a little bit, something like that. Yeah, it looks good. Okay, so with that stuff created, what I can do is go to polygon mode. I can select these two polygons, go to Graphite Modeling Tools and select the loop. I'm going to deselect the back polygon right there. I just want these polygons in the front and the side selected. Okay. I'm going to go to the extrude options here. And I'm going to extrude by local normal. Okay. Let's extrude by a little bit less. Something like this, about 1 inch is pretty good. Okay. I'm going to hit OK right there. Now you notice maybe it's a little bit hard to see, but maybe you caught this if you pay close attention to detail. You'll notice that this thing is off. If I go to a top view, go to wireframe mode, there's our polygons. You see how they're curved like that? They're kind of angled. That's not good. Okay, editor, edited out the video. There's a phone ringing. Turned it off. Okay, we're good to go in 3, 2, 1. So this stuff right here is not good if it's angled like this. It's not perfectly straight. Obviously, it's a problem. So I'm going to go ahead and fix that real quick. Okay. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to select this polygon that's right here. I'm going to go to align and I'm going to align that in the x-axis. I'm going to do that to the polygon on the other side over there. Now I'm going to select all three of these polygons that are in the front. Those right there. And I'm going to align those into Y to flatten those out. Now I have some extra edges here that I don't really need. This edge right here. Don't think I want that there, but you know what? I'm probably just going to leave that there for the moment. See what happens. If it causes a problem, I'll get rid of it. Right now I'm not going to worry about it too much. Okay, so I'm going to go back to polygon mode, and I'm going to select all of these polygons that are right here in the front, those right there. Okay, now I'm going to use the bevel tool here, and I'm going to bevel it based on the local normal. I'm going to reduce the height here by quite a bit, and the outline amount I'm going to increase. So I basically ended up with something like this. See this? You can kind of see what I'm doing here. And I'll hit apply, and I'll make another bevel, and I'll reduce the height, increase the outline amount a little bit. So I'm getting sort of a softer bevel right there, and I'm going to hit OK. Alright, so I'm going to end up with something that looks like this. Now the back polygons here don't look too good, so I'm going to take those two polygons right there, go to the other side, take those two. I'm going to go to the align tool, and I'm going to align this in the y-axis. Okay. I'm going to go to edge mode, select that edge right there, go to transform type in tool. I'm going to steal the y coordinate right there. I'm going to go back to polygons, and you can see that I can't type into the type in tool. Let's go to our selection mode here and select the second option here, selection center, and now we can. So let's paste that in, hit enter, and we're good. Okay, so that's nice and flat in the back, and is working out pretty well. Okay, so that part is done. I'm going to end this video here, and in the next video we'll continue chipping away. We're going to start working on the bottom details over here and get that done. We got some details to do there. If we look at our image here, we can see we have to create this bottom section right there. So we're going to do that next.